Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on high-performance computing. Today, my guest is Ken Cheney. Ken is VP of Marketing and Business Development at Likewise. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thanks, Rich. It's a pleasure to be here today.
I appreciate you coming on, and I have some slides here that you guys sent. Do you want to go through those?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So we'll just start on slide 2 and provide everybody a bit about Likewise if they're not familiar with Likewise. So, Likewise is a company has actually a pretty large presence in the HPC community. So one of the things that Likewise does well is focus on platform interoperability, which is really about how to tie together Linux, Unix, and Macs with existing directory services. Today, in most organizations, that's Active Directory and LDAP. And the predominance that we see out there is really Active Directory. So when you look at folks who are rolling out large-scale Linux-based environments, they're often HPC-type environments. So a good portion of our customer base is in the HPC community. We're a high-growth company. We've been growing with our enterprise products over 70% year over year. We're based out of W, Washington, and we have, obviously, given that focus on interoperability, we have pretty deep experience with a team that comes out of Microsoft, MIT, as well as the Samba project. If you go to slide 3, you'll see the product portfolio makeup that we have. And we essentially have two go-to-markets. One really addresses the market of identity and access management and this challenge that I mentioned of tying in Linux, Unix, and Macs with existing directory services. We have a free to premium business model, and I mean free as in beer, with a product called Likewise Open. It's an open source product, and if the listeners haven't tried it yet, you can go out, download it, no charge, and it provides great value right out of the gate where you can authenticate your Linux, Unix, and Macs with AD. We monetize with our premium product, which is Likewise Enterprise, which is what many enterprises actually want to roll out, which adds to that base level of authentication, things like group policy, auditing and reporting. So many times people are trying to achieve compliance around SOX, PCI, HIPAA, government regulatory standards and such, as well as event management. And between the two, we actually have a pretty large install base. Likewise Open has had well over 100,000 downloads. It's in a number of distribution packages, such as Ubuntu from Canonical. And Likewise Enterprise has well over 400 customers, kind of marquee name brands like GE, NBC Universal, The Gap, NASA, and others. So that's one of our go-to-markets, and really, if you go to our website, likewise.com, that's what you'll see. The other part of our business, the other go-to-market, is really addressing the OEM community. And the OEM community is interested in us for a couple of reasons. One, they ship a lot of Linux appliances these days. So if you look at security, networking devices, these are Linux-based devices that, at the end of the day, need to play nice with existing enterprise environments. And so we have taken our Likewise Open product, and we provide a similar product for OEM consumption called Likewise Identity Service that lets OEMs embed this technology to tie these Linux-based devices into existing directory services like Active Directory. So as a company, we built ourselves really focused on this identity and access management market, both from an enterprise perspective and from an OEM perspective. And we found ourselves, through a number of these OEM relationships, being asked to provide file-based access on top of the security with the identity and access management that we are providing. And so a couple of years ago, we went down the road of providing file-based access so that Windows clients can get at files residing on Linux-based devices. And we wrote a fully functioning CIFS SMB server stack that runs on Linux-based devices. And that has been adopted by a number of the large players in the storage industry so that, first off, they can leverage our expertise in identity and security, and second, they can get the file-based access that they want so that Windows clients can actually get at those files. So if you look at the company, if you go to slide 4, we've developed a pretty strong ecosystem of embedded devices out there. I like to call it likewise everywhere, but essentially we're being used across a multitude of different types of devices. And it's likely that listeners to this podcast today actually have likewise running in their environment, whether they know it or not, because we're shipping with a whole range of devices. So we ship with HP Storage Works. We ship with EMC products such as Data Domain and Isilon. We ship with products from Blue Coat and other security networking type vendors. So pretty large coverage across printer devices, network devices, virtualized systems. So we're baked into VMware's ESXi and Citrix, Zen. So pretty large coverage out there in terms of the number of devices that likewise is actually securing or providing file-based access. So if you go to slide 5, there's just a few examples. I think I mentioned already VMware, HP, also Cisco uses us for a number of their security and networking products. So let's go to what we're actually announcing today and why this is important. And this is on slide 6. And what we've really done is an evolution in our capabilities. So likewise, the company is squarely addressing this intersection that we see around identity, security, and storage. And we are introducing a new offering that's really targeted at OEM consumption that, in my view, really is going to address some key challenges that I've actually heard from our HPC customers around having multi-protocol support. So not only the CIFS support for accessing files from Windows clients, but also now adding to it NFS support so that Linux and Unix systems can actually use our server stack for file-based access. And really, at the end of the day, this new announcement that we're calling Likewise Storage Services, the combined platform, is really targeted for OEM consumption. It's targeted at existing storage, network, and security vendors that are shipping Linux-based devices and virtual appliances. Talk to many startups out there who are looking to accelerate their time to market. They've got great ideas of new ways of delivering cloud-based services or other types of services, as well as service providers who are looking to deliver file-based access via the cloud, private cloud type scenarios. So if we go to slide 7, slide 7 really sums it up, where I talk about that intersection where we see large storage vendors, we see cloud service providers. They're all looking for file-based access, but one of the big linchpins that they require is really around identity and access management. They want to be able to provide the right data at the right time to the right person, and this has become a big concern. So at a base level, if you look at the box on the right, we're doing cross-platform storage for Windows, Linux, and Unix systems, leveraging the CIFS and the NFS protocol support. So what's important about this is that many organizations today, I'll use actually kind of an HPC type scenario where you see these large HPC environments that have a storage array set up that's provisioned for NFS only. So they have applications that are running jobs that are essentially delivering or backing up the files, placing the files on these storage devices. And then they have Windows clients that are accessing that data, but they're typically not accessing that data on that actual storage array. They're accessing it from a separate NAS device that's configured with the CIFS SMP protocol. And from a sysadmin perspective, that is pretty painful because you're looking at the fact that you have to deal with it's the same data, but you have different security rights being applied to the NFS storage device as well as the CIFS storage device. So you have this constant issue of is this data actually being secured in the manner our enterprise wants it secured? And one of the common scenarios I hear from HPC customers is the fact that there are offerings out there that will run both CIFS and NFS, but they don't provide the coherency and consistency in the security rights, so that if you have a user coming at it from a Windows client and realize they don't have rights to a file, they can often backdoor and go in through the NFS protocol and get at the file. So it presents a big security hole. Well, Likewise is actually plugging that hole. We're providing coherency across protocols. We're tying it into existing directory services, so that's the second box on that stack, so that you actually can make sure that you're managing your data across users, groups, roles, through your centralized directory service, whether that's Active Directory or LDAP. And we're doing this really, at the end of the day, provide file-based access from anywhere, as I was saying, the right data at the right time. So if you go to the next slide, slide 8, at the core, as I was discussing, the problem really is about the data. It's the same data, whether it's being accessed by the NFS protocol or the CIFS protocol. If you go to the next slide, as I was saying, the challenge is really that existing NAS vendors are not doing a good job of this. Today, if you look at how most of the vendors address this problem, they will attempt to do coherency by going with the lowest common denominator. So Windows ACLs are actually much more secure than the Unix POSIX file security descriptors. And so what we've chosen to do, instead of going with the lowest common denominator and pushing POSIX file security descriptors across the two protocols, CIFS and NFS, we've decided we're going to go with the higher level of security with Windows ACLs and push that coherency across over to NFS. And if you go to the next slide, this quote here from Henry Baltazar at 451 Group really captures what I've seen out there from our customers, is that having this consistent security model continues to be a real challenge for many organizations. So what this means for enterprises, this target, as I mentioned, is really, this product's really targeted at OEMs. What this means for enterprises is that they should expect to see from their large storage vendors shipping in the not too distant future this capability, which will solve this challenge of how can I make sure that I have integrated identity and access management and coherency across both CIFS and NFS when I'm provisioning storage. So if you go to the next slide, really highlighting the exact what we're delivering, which is the CIFS SMB, SMB2 support with the NFS support that allow for organizations to provision storage, which is CIFS plus NFS, CIFS only, or NFS only. So, organizations can actually provision storage just the way they're doing today, or they can actually go after the consolidation opportunity, where today many organizations, as I stated, are running two different storage arrays. They can consolidate down to one by running both CIFS and NFS together, which is always a big advantage, both from a cost as well as from a system administration overhead perspective for organizations when you can do that type of consolidation. Also, because of our architecture built in user space, we're modular, API driven. We provide a lot of flexibility to the OEM vendors themselves, who often have been deploying using kernel mode protocol support. So moving it up in user space actually gives them the flexibility to choose the best flavor of Linux or BSD to meet their actual business requirements. And the architecture itself increases the speed of development and eases the ongoing support costs for them. In addition, from an end user perspective, having these capabilities, protocol support running in user space as opposed to in the kernel mode, means that when you're actually running that server in production, if there's a problem, we're not actually crashing the entire server. It's just a service restart. So, I don't want to get too down in the weeds for the listeners on the podcast, but I will say that running in user space versus running in kernel mode, there is a bit of a religion out there when it comes to the folks in the storage community who understand how these two scenarios are running. And one of the big comments I get is, well, won't running in user space impact performance? And from everything we've seen, and we're shipping, as I mentioned, on a number of actual large enterprise storage vendors' devices today, so HP and Isilon, for instance, from what we've seen, the impact is really the network and not, in fact, the actual running in user space with these protocols. So at the end of the day, what's important about what we're delivering to the folks who are listening to this, who are running large-scale HPC environments, is that we intend to be a security gatekeeper for the I/O path, which means we're pushing this concept of coherency and consistency and security across, whether it's CIFS or NFS. And so, as I stated, I've heard from many HPC customers the pain around this, about the ability for users to potentially backdoor the system and get that data that they shouldn't, and given that many HPC workloads are secure, they have data that's very sensitive. This is a big issue for these types of environments. And that our architecture, by providing a single choke point, allows us to do some really unique and interesting things around logging activity, being able to see who's been accessing what when, and will provide a strong platform for us as we look at not only addressing OEM requirements and helping OEMs win in the market, but also delivering product ourselves targeted at the storage market and enterprises. So if you go to the next slide, really just to sum things up, we're addressing what we see as key gaps in the storage market. We've heard it from many of the HPC customers that we deal with on the identity and access management side. We've heard it from our OEM partners on the storage side. And we believe that our focus on software, as opposed to being really focused on the bottom half of the stack that the source vendors are focused on, really allows us to help our OEM partners differentiate and win market share, and that we're really committed to delivering high-performance, scalable solutions targeted at the requirements that OEMs are seeing from large HPC customers. So with that, any questions, Rich?
Oh, sure. I've always got some, Ken.
Yeah.
How do you size a market for something like this? I mean, have you done those kind of studies?
We have done studies around this, and I think what we're targeting at the end of the day is unstructured data. And if you just look at it at a high level, the growth of unstructured data has been explosive. It's growing 6 times greater than structured data right now. If you look at the growth of the market itself, the market growth, depending on the segment you look at, is growing from 45% to 150%. And this is in the NAS market itself. So
right.
Given that we are NAS-enabling storage vendors, and we're addressing a problem that they have around making sure that they are delivering the right data at the right time, and that they've got the trail of breadcrumbs to prove it, I think that we're very well positioned to address this kind of explosive market growth that you're seeing out there. And we're proven, right? We're industry proven. We're running on some of the largest storage devices that are out there.
So, you're solving this problem for these customers, yet you go through the OEM model, right? So, I think
today.
Yes, okay. So, do you see this as something where like an HP can differentiate their offerings because they're using your core technologies, or how are they going to treat this?
Yes, absolutely. They're able to differentiate. So, our OEM partners, by leveraging us, can achieve very high performance over existing capabilities that are out there today, as well as scalability. So, for instance, at one of the recent conferences, the Storage Developers Conference down in San Jose, we discussed the fact that we can scale to well over 50,000 concurrent connections while maintaining a decent performance threshold. So, given that most of what vendors are shipping today caps 5,000 to 7,000 concurrent connections. That's pretty significant.
So when you look at your market, who's really your competitor?
Well, there's only a few vendors that have actually pulled together their own solution. So NetApp's one of them. Mm-hmm. Many of them are actually running Samba today under the covers. So Samba is an open source project that really was designed to allow for organizations to have all of the functionality of Windows running on Linux. And so many OEMs went down the path of putting the Samba stack on their products initially. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then from a startup aspect, you guys have been kind of around doing this other stuff for a while. You have a proven solution.
That's right.
There, and this is really new ground for you, isn't it? This storage solution.
Well, it is new ground, except for I'd say that moving into storage definitely is. The expertise required in terms of understanding the protocols and the challenges that we're addressing are something that we've been doing for quite some time. So, we're leveraging the same underlying distributed systems platform that we leverage to address the identity and access management market to address the requirements of the storage market.
Yeah.
So, from a capability perspective, I think we're battle hardened. From a go-to-market perspective, and moving actually into this market, this is new territory for us.
Sure.
Other than what we've been with our OEMs.
Yeah. So I guess kind of a wrap-up question, Ken. What keeps you up at night?
Well, I think what keeps me up at night is our ability to move quickly and to deliver additional capabilities for end users. So, in the coming months, listeners should be on the lookout for us to be delivering end user product as well as what we're doing today for the OEMs, and really squarely addressing this challenge of identity, security, and storage head on. Not just addressing the CIFS plus NFS, but adding additional protocols to the mix as well, so that whether organizations are deploying physical, virtual, or cloud-based storage solutions, we want to be in the mix, whether we're on top of the OEM product, the shipping, or customers are using our product themselves for solving these types of problems.
Well, that's a great story, Ken. I'd love to check in with you when you get start shipping some of that stuff. Maybe come back in 6 months. And
you bet, Rich.
That sounds great.
Yeah, look forward to speaking with you about it.
Okay, cool. All right, folks. Well, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on high-performance computing.